Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about raising one's self-confidence, sorry. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, thanks for the video. Could you make a video about finding one's self-confidence? You mentioned something about this in an older video. Thanks. Yes, I did. If I remember correctly, I basically I think I kind of tried to define something in a video where I explained that if you wanted me to define, talk about how to raise one's self-confidence as a person, that's a whole different thing from raising your self-confidence in the workplace. It's not necessarily. There's a lot of overlap, but becoming a self-confident person it's a pretty big topic. And so if you're asking me about this, I basically what I wrote back to the subscriber was that this is quite a bit outside the programming world. And sure, I can give you my 2 cents, but I'm not a life coach I'm not an expert on these matters. But if you want me to answer the question, I will do so to the best of my abilities, because I'd like to think that the content that I make, or like the stuff that I do on this channel, because this is, as you probably guessed by now, just my own little private channel that I do for fun. So you can ask me pretty much anything, and I will do my best to answer it to the best of my abilities. But the red thread is that it's about programming most of the time. But I also would like to think that sometimes it's healthy to make a video or two about becoming a well-rounded human being as well, and this would be one of those things. So, as you can imagine, this is an enormous question, and I will just give you the short answer to it, because if I were supposed to try to give you like my full perspective on how to raise your self-confidence, I would have to we would have to go and have a beer, probably several beers, and hours and hours and hours of talking in a very relaxed environment where we basically have to create a relationship between each other where I can communicate with you in an efficient way and trust that you understand what I'm trying to say, and vice versa, of course. But the short answer is that, in my opinion, you need to understand that confidence comes from your ability to feel comfortable in any given situation, basically. So to put it simply, your ability to handle whatever is thrown at you at any given moment, or in a sense being unafraid of the situation that you find yourself in, that is the thing that is going to give you confidence. To feel relaxed and feel like, yeah, I know sort of how to handle all this stuff. You don't feel any fear towards the thing that you're going to do. And becoming unafraid, that can be done in many ways, but in my opinion, at the very least, the most solid, proven method to do this is to gain trust in your own abilities through exposure. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically it means that the more you expose yourself to something, the less scary it seems, usually. There are things that, you can never, there are things that you will never be able to get completely out of your system. An example would be, it does not matter how many times a soldier goes to combat, you will still feel a level of fear. It's the same thing with an artist or like a performer or something. There's always an element of uncertainty when you're exposing yourself. Some people will, it all depends on, of course, what you're doing and who you are, and like there's genetics and so forth involved in the whole thing. But you can reduce your stress levels or your lack of confidence to the point where either you don't feel anything whatsoever, and that's the master level right there, or you feel so little of it that you can effectively do your work. So try to remember this. This is a healthy exercise that I like to do when it comes to about thinking about confidence and exposure and so forth. Remember that at one point, many of us humans, a lot of us were afraid to go and sit on the toilet by ourselves instead of having our parents take care of our diapers for us. Because when we're going to do potty training, that's a new thing for you as a child. And new things are scary for a lot of people. It's very common. It's probably the most human thing there is, apart from wanting to learn things and expose yourself to new things. But unknown stuff is scary. And so today, if you're an adult, it's probably not as scary as it used to be. Today, it's probably not something you even consider that someone might find intimidating, unless you have small kids of your own who's going through potty training. So what changed? Well, my argument is that the thing that changed is that you practiced going on the toilet so many times that now you don't even think about it anymore. That's the exposure right there. You've exposed yourself to this situation so many times and lived to to see the next day that it doesn't matter to you. You know that you know everything there is to you know everything there is to know about going to the bathroom as a normal person. So there are no unknowns. Therefore, you feel confident. And I think that this is true for all things in life. Basically what I say is that confidence is gained best by exposing yourself to events that scare you until they no longer scare you. It's that simple. An example would be if you're going to ask out a boy or a girl, depending on your preference, if you try to do that once, if you see someone who you find attractive and you're going to ask someone out once, well, that's going to probably be fairly scary for you. And if they reject you, that's probably going to hurt. But imagine how you would feel if you tried to just do that thing 10,000 times. Well, then you could probably, by the end of that, you could probably write a few books on being a pickup artist, or something like that, or being a socialite, because at some point you're simply going to have done this so many times that you have flirted with every single possible candidate that you find attractive in so many ways that you basically know how everything's going to go before you even start. And in my opinion at the very least, that you've gained master level confidence when you do something that is you do it so easily that you don't even think about that it's scary. As I said, like going to the bathroom or going out in a public area, because guys, there are people who are scared of public places, who feel uncomfortable just sitting on the bus, and most people don't even think about it. That's confidence right there. And so the thing that I really want to capture here is that few adults remember how it was to do potty training, right? Because it was for most of us so long ago that you can't even relate to the fact that you were scared of that at one point. It was a new thing. But on the other hand, there's a lot of adults who can relate to the terror, and I'm going to use the word terror because a lot of people feel terror when it comes to speaking in public, speaking in front of a large audience or in front of a lot of people. If you want to see that in action, go and look at my first videos when there was 2 people who subscribed to my channel, and I'm pretty sure they were both bots. It was still scary, and that probably you should notice that in the fluency in the way that I talk. And the difference is simply between then and now that you've done it so many times that it's no longer scary to you. It's just it's basically like breathing. And to leave you with a philosophical thought, if you are, let's say for the sake of argument, you're scared of not having enough money, is it better to learn how to become rich or learn how to be happy with having less? Food for thought. So what I want you to take away from this is basically that I am not a life coach, but I feel very flattered that somebody, I'm guessing, has thought that I had something valuable to say on the whole self-confidence topic, and my thoughts are very simple. There are many ways to become, as I like to say, unafraid, and for me the definition of being confident is to just feel that you can handle whatever happens. And see, this is the best part about being confident. It doesn't mean that you always succeed, because you can be confident even though you fail, and that's the thing that I was talking about when it comes to picking up people, flirting with people and so forth. You're not going to be everybody's favorite when you go and pick somebody up, but true confidence means that you don't really care how it goes, or rather you feel comfortable regardless of what happens, whether you get the girl or the boy or whatever you're flirting with, or if you get rejected. If you feel fine regardless of what happens, that's true confidence right there. And I believe that the way to get there in the simplest way, and as I said, if we wanted to go really deep into this, there are so many layers to this that would take hours and hours and hours. But the simplest answer I can give you is exposure. exposure cures basically all fear, because exposure is experience, and experience is the enemy of fear and the unknown. So I think that is the thing that you should go for. Whatever, identify the things that scare you, identify the things that makes you feel uncomfortable, and try to find constructive ways to expose yourself to situations where you have to face that sort of fear. And also, this is a side tip, understand what level you are at. If you're, as an example, afraid of speaking in public, maybe your first step shouldn't be to go and do a tech talk presentation in front of 1,000 people. Maybe you just do it at lunch for your team in the software company that you work in, or whatever company you're working in, and then you build up. Think of it as doing strength training. Start with something light and work your way up to the really heavy weights. And as long as you stay committed to your own improvement, you're going to nail this. I promise you. You're going to become confident. Have a great day.